Does anyone actually know what the hell is going on? Because it doesn't seem like it. And science have just come out with a paper saying there are reports from the 40s and 50s of like thousands and thousands of UFOs sitting in our atmosphere, not moving, just kind of parked there. So that's terrifying. Also, there's been an earthquake this morning off the coast of Russia, one of the biggest ones Russia has ever seen. We're going to be touching on both of those. And the world seems to be ran by a satanic cult called the Khazarian Mafia. So that's all just in the last 24 hours anyway. So I guess you could say things are starting to get quite weird. With the whole, thousands of UFOs sitting above the earth, there's actually stuff that we already know, clips that we've seen that we'll look at today, that kind of make a lot more sense. It makes us humans look way less crazy when you consider that data and what we already know. We'll be taking a look at that today.
Eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on?
No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light in our galaxy. Everything. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.
All right, just before we get into the show today, guys, very quickly, I want to announce and encourage you to go and subscribe to Polarity 2.0. This is going to be where I upload clips and highlights from the live streams. I know a lot of you guys don't want to go through a 2-hour live stream video, especially after it's already been live. I've got you. All right, we're going to be uploading clips and highlights over there. So please, I'll leave a link for it down below. If you could go over there and give that channel a little bit of love, you'll be able to catch up with shorter little segments of the best bits of the live streams. But let's get into the show today, right? Let's start off with this earthquake, because this is literally just happened hours ago. A massive earthquake has hit Russia, one of the biggest ones. It's just off the coast. But before we go into that, I want to show you this clip of Matthew Brown. And maybe you know where I'm going with this.
Our collection assets were there in area monitoring Russian naval vessels. Not sure what they're doing there, but they've been hanging out in the middle of the ocean in this place apparently for a few days. Keep an eye on them. And this night, while they are observing the Russian vessels, a large black triangle materializes or decloaks or something. The point is it did not move. It appeared directly above these ships, probably no more than 200 meters, pretty close. And interestingly, as noted in the report itself, there was no visible reaction from these vessels from what would almost certainly be considered a hostile approach.
What do you take away from that? They didn't notice it, or they're not upset about it, or they don't know what to do with it, or what?
So the implication also in the text describing it was, the analysis in the text was that the Russian Navy had foreknowledge that this vehicle would appear in that area of the ocean, and they were there specifically to either collect on it themselves or to interact with it in some way.
Any indication that it might be theirs, that they knew it's going to be there because they control it?
Not in that document. And I haven't seen anything to make me think that they controlled that particular craft, but didn't see anything to the contrary either.
I guess it could be that they've seen it before, that there's nothing they can do about it, so don't get excited about it.
Might be, although it is interesting, if it's something that's part of their environment, as it were, why are they making an effort to be in this space at this time to collect on something they already know about?
Is it like in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, it's off the coast of Kamchatka, as I recall.
Kamchatka. Okay, so this is where, that's probably like the biggest bombshell of Matthew Brown's interview, right? The fact that the Russians seem to be communicating or like interacting somehow in a non-hostile way with this black giant triangle UFO that materialized right next to where the Russians were like waiting. They were waiting for it, and it was there. And this is basically gathered from like spy intelligence from the United States, right? Kamchatka. Let's take a look at this earthquake. Evacuations in Japan and US as major earthquake off Russia triggers widespread tsunami warnings. Again, this is like super current within the last couple of hours. Powerful magnitude 8.8 earthquake has struck off Russia's far eastern Kamchatka Peninsula at about 11:25 local time on Wednesday. A tsunami with a height of 3 to 4 meters, 10 to 13 feet, has been recorded in parts of Kamchatka in Russia. In that Matthew Brown clip, he's saying that that US intelligence was taken from a submarine. So this interaction with the Russians and this giant black triangle was in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Kamchatka, which, is exactly what this news report is saying where the earthquake came from, right? Now, is that just coincidence number 7,491? Maybe, but maybe not at the same time. Who knows? It's interesting though. And this is, you can kind of see here on the map, this is where Kamchatka is. So you can see on the left there is Japan, and where the 8.0 is basically off the coast of Kamchatka, like right there. It's obviously not exactly clear where the photograph was taken in the Immaculate Constellation document that Matthew Brown's talking about, but we can definitely assume it's somewhere in this area. And I just think it's kind of interesting that these things are taking place in the exact same area. Like, does it mean like something to do with UFOs and non-human intelligence has triggered the earthquake? Does it mean the US think this area is significant to the Russians for something UFO related, and this is like a direct energy weapon attack on Russia from the United States? Maybe with the direct energy weapon that are apparently in Antarctica, according to Eric Hecker. Who knows? Who knows? I'm not trying to tell you one way or another. I'm just presenting what we know, and you can make up your own mind. It was probably, if I had to guess though, who is responsible for this, I'm going to say it was the Khazarian mafia. I'm just kidding. Sort of. All right. So I just wanted to include that in the show quickly because it was current and interesting. But let's talk about these thousands of UFOs that are apparently sighted above the Earth. Okay. Now, I'm not going to go into detail telling you about it because lots of people have covered it already. I'm going to show you a clip.
In addition, the reason
from the Angry Astronaut, because he does a really good job of covering it. And this is just about 3 minutes. I'll leave his full breakdown below if you want to go and check him out. But I just wanted someone to give us a quick overview, and he will show you the slides as well. And then I'm going to explain to you why this makes things that we already know about make a lot more sense.
researchers drew a direct connection between the number of transients that were popping up in these photographic plates and the number of UFO reports that were being made at the time. An increase of 8.5% in the number of transients appearing in the photographic plates occurred for every UFO sighting that happened at the same period of time. A direct connection between the frequency of UFO sightings and the appearance of these objects in our night sky. So let me show you a few examples of these plates and why they are so significant. The plate on the left is the one where the transients were discovered. The plate on the right came about an hour later. As you can see, the transients, which are marked by blue circles, disappeared shortly after being photographed. In addition to that, several of them are closely arranged in a line formation, very similar to the way satellites in a constellation would appear, assuming satellites actually existed in the 1950s, which they did not, at least not in the early to mid-1950s when all of these photographs were taken. In addition to that...
So again, just to put a little stamp over that, this is all data taken from, I believe, the 40s as well, but definitely like the early 50s. So before we had satellites in the sky. And Dr. Beatriz Villarroel, I'm pretty sure is her name, is the one who has been going over this and put this paper forward. And it's currently under a peer review process, which I'm positive will not get accepted. Like, of course, it's like the peer review system was 100% set up. Oh, maybe not 100%, but like it's definitely the perfect infrastructure to control science, right? Obviously. So this shit is not going to get accepted. I'll be astounded if it does. But you know, I think that's irrelevant, really, especially with what I'm about to show you after this anyway. But I just wanted to make that clear.
These examples cannot be meteors, nor can they be asteroids, nor can they be supernova or any other type of phenomena. Asteroids moving quick enough to disappear in only an hour would leave a streak on a time exposure photograph, not appearing as a pinpoint. The only thing that would appear as a pinpoint in the night sky that would disappear in an hour or so would be something that was sitting in geosynchronous orbit, which then departed geosynchronous geosynchronous orbits before the next photographs were taken, or perhaps the objects rotated in such a way that they didn't reflect sunlight in the same way as they were when they were photographed the first time. This is the second candidate. There are 4 transients in this one, and as you can see, 3 of those transients are arranged in a line, with 2 of them appearing very close to one another. Again, something that is completely unlike a meteor phenomena or asteroids. Definitely nothing like supernova. You won't ever have 4 supernova taking place at the same time, and also supernova don't disappear in less than an hour. There is no known natural phenomena that could account for these transients appearing and disappearing in an hour's time.
So there you go. Nice little roundup from the Angry Astronaut. Link below if you want to get like a comprehensive overview on what that's about. But I just wanted to put that there so we can move forward with what we're about to talk about now, because you guys have probably heard about Starfish and Bluegill triple prime. Okay, these were nuclear tests done in the 60s in space, essentially. And if this stuff is real, which, you know, I feel like it probably is, it makes a lot of sense, right? Because hearing about Bluegill triple prime, and we've heard Tom DeLonge talk about it, and we're gonna look at some clips from him as well. It's like it comes, you know, when you just hear that, like, in the 60s, we let off nukes in space, it's like, you know, we have no context for that. So we understandably are like, oh, okay, we're fucking psychopaths. Because that's how it comes across. Like, you just think of some mad scientists like, let's blow nukes up in the atmosphere. It's like, why would you do that, you psycho? Well, maybe because in the 50s and 60s, they were privy to these studies and were like, holy shit, it seems like there is a whole bunch of unidentified things sitting, coming and going, and just sitting stationary in our atmosphere. Maybe we should do something about it. Now, I'm not trying to like defend it, because we're really just kind of digging into this stuff, you know, in real time. But I'm just saying, it makes a bit more sense now, right? It makes us seem a little bit more human in the way that we're acting. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. I'm not going to give him too much credit. But let's check this out. This is Tom DeLonge, 2-minute clip, talking about this kind of stuff.
You can always look back, and UFOs were always very actively showing up where our nuclear weapons were, anything to do with nuclear weapons, nuclear tests, and things of that nature. So I had, you know, someone important posit a hypothetical to me that I took to be a very pointed conversation, on a very purposeful conversation, because of who the person was. And back in 1963, there was a nuclear test in space called Starfish Prime. Now, anyone can go out there and read about Starfish Prime, and you can go on Wikipedia and see all about it. And the idea of it was to really see what electromagnetic pulse would do in the vacuum of space, the EMP wave. Now, the EMP wave is what we hear about. If a nuke goes off, it'll shut off all of our electricity and burn all of our electrical, you know, systems and whatever. So one of the fears we've always had as a country is, you know, would the Soviets detonate a nuclear weapon in the atmosphere above America, and just that EMP wave would come down and just wipe us back to the Stone Age, all of our computers, all of our phone lines, everything. So we definitely have had those fears, and so have other countries. So when Starfish Prime was one of the attempts to launch something into space and test how that EMP wave would travel. What's interesting about it is when you look it up and read about it, it actually did take out a satellite or two, is what it discusses. Well, I have very high reason to believe that maybe it did take out a satellite, but it really brought down something else as well. And then the question becomes, did we know that it might bring something else down? And or maybe a few of us knew, and the rest of the people on the team did not know. They just thought they were testing something in space. So I had some pretty deep, meaningful conversations about Starfish Prime.
Interesting, right? Did we know that we were going to bring something down? And Tom kind of alludes to the fact that we did. And I'll play another clip in a moment about that. But it's interesting because it would make sense that most people probably didn't know why they were doing it, right? They're just following orders, like everyone in the military. Like Jake Barber has said, He doesn't know what the egg was that he picked up. That's not his job. His job is just to get the egg. Don't ask questions. Don't ask questions. Like, that is just the way that it goes. So the fact that a lot of people didn't actually know why they were doing this stuff or were told a different reason, when the truth is that they were trying to, like, I don't want to say fight a war against these things. They certainly weren't knocking on the door to greet the neighbors with a nice cake and muffins. You know what I'm saying? This next clip is Ross Coulter talking to Jeff Cruikshank, who is an Australian intelligence official. I'm not sure of his like exact title, but he was involved in the Australian intelligence. And he's gone deep on this stuff. And you'll see in this next clip, if you haven't seen it before, there is footage from Bluegill Triple Prime of the nuclear detonation. And you see a UFO basically fall out of the explosion. Take a look at what Jeff and Ross have to say about it.
So there are videos of what we're about to talk about. And when you're referring to those videos, can you actually specifically talk to the video so that our editors know what to include in this video?
Yep. So tensions are building up in Cuba. So there's a Atlas 8F missile test in the Cape Canaveral on the 19th of September 1962. It's a dummy test. There's no live warhead on it. They just want to see how accurate the re-entry vehicle is to the target. Once the re-entry vehicle has separated from the main Atlas missile, it starts its re-entry run. There's pyrotechnics and other things. They call them penetration aids to fool radar. So if you try to shoot the warhead, you've got multiple targets to choose from. Once the penetration aids burn up, the RV is filmed by a high-flying KC-135 specialised aircraft run by EG&G of all people.
So the RV is a re-entry vehicle.
Yep, it's re-entering the atmosphere. It's travelling at Mach 18, which is 20,000 feet per second. And an object materializes right alongside it and paces this RV for a minute and a half. So
how do we know this? What's that source to? Is that an authentic document that sources that claim?
That was it's footage that Arrow has actually deemed a UFO incident, and they've put it in the National Archives. Anyone can see it. And I found
this is the bit I love. Sorry, Jeff, I've just got to savor this for a moment. So this is a real UFO sighting of some kind of anomalous object that appeared next to the testing of a re-entry vehicle off an ICBM, an American ICBM. And this is traveling at 18 times the speed of sound. And what does this object do around this re-entry vehicle warhead?
It's quite strange because it seems to phase itself into existence and pulse, and then just travels alongside the re-entry vehicle for a minute and a half, and then slowly starts to phase itself out of existence.
But then, Jeff, take me forward to what then happens, because there is another test and another set of videos. What do you find? What have you uncovered?
So on the 25th of October, about 15 minutes to midnight, they launched Bluegill Triple Prime, which is a Thor intermediate range ballistic missile, single stage, launches this special, it's called the X1, which is the gold spherical secondary X-ray nuclear weapon. They launch it around... They want to detonate it around midnight to get the maximum effect, because at that point of time in the day, the ionosphere is at its highest point, because it's like a teardrop shape from the Earth in relation to the sun. So this weapon detonates at just a few minutes past midnight on the 26th of October, the height of the Cuban Missile Crisis. So there's another two KC-135 aircraft. Its whole tests are fully instrumented because they've never actually fired one of these weapons before, because it's failed the previous 3 times. So there's two KC-135s operated by EG&G, because they developed the special high-speed Rapatronic camera that take the footage, because I believe it's possibly still the same today, the only way to determine a nuclear weapon yield is to watch its expansion rate in the first few microseconds of the detonation. So these two aircraft have got these high-speed cameras watching the detonation. One has the call sign Kettle 1. The other one has the call sign Kettle 2. So during the blast, Kettle 1, you can see an object, and the fireball is approximately only a few milliseconds after the detonation. The fireball is approximately a kilometre wide. A bright, fiery object tumbles.
So I'm just pausing it quickly just in case you guys miss it, because obviously it's grainy footage. You're looking at the bottom section, so below this fireball, which he just said is like a kilometre wide. This ball is a kilometre wide, so it's like hard to wrap your head around that. But just keep an eye below it.
Out from within the nuclear.
There, you can see it there. Something's dropping out. And I'm pretty sure Jeff mentions it, but he says this thing must be big. So I guess you're comparing this thing to a scale of a kilometre. I mean, it doesn't even look like it would be 100 meters at looking at it like this. Let's see what he says.
Fireball. And it's plain as day. You can slow it down and see this very bright object. It must be at least 50 to 100 meters long, tumble out from within the nuclear fireball.
I mean, to be fair, like 50 meters is still quite big. If we're talking about like a UFO, that's a lot bigger than what we usually hear, which is like, 35 feet wide. These like flying saucers are. 50 meters is a lot bigger than that.
You believe that is some kind of craft?
Just like the one that was following the Atlas 8F test, but this time it was a real warhead.
So this is speculation, of course, because we just simply don't know what was recovered. But you believe potentially there were non-human intelligences of some kind watching these American tests, keeping a very close observation on what was going on, and that because they were using this technology that was designed to knock out missiles with essentially an X-ray pulse, it also knocked out the UFO.
That's correct.
Let's not forget as well the Bob Jacobs story with the missile that he filmed that was shot down by a UFO that came into the camera. That was like the same year, or it was like within 2 years of the Bluegill and Starfish prime tests. So little interesting data point there. This is early 60s. This is, you could say, like 10 or less years after all of this data that's coming out in this paper of thousands of objects sitting in our atmosphere was allegedly discovered. And like I said, maybe we're not just crazy apes that get off on blowing things up in space. Maybe there's a reason behind why they were doing it. Do I agree with that reason? Well, I don't really know enough to probably give that opinion, because there could be so much more to this story that we don't understand. I'm open to it all. The truth could be terrible, like many people say. And maybe this was a valiant effort to try and make a difference. Who knows? Or maybe we're just psycho apes that love starting wars. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, though, in the comments. Please remember, go and check out the Polarity Clips channel. Really appreciate it if you could go and show some love over there. I'm going to try my best to get uploads on there daily, even if it's just like a little quick stream highlight for those who can't make the live streams. But I'm going to send you out today with an audio recording of Tom DeLonge talking about these tests again. So I'll leave you with that. Thank you for being here. We're going to be live streaming again tonight at 9 p.m. Adelaide. And hopefully I'll see you there. Be good, be kind. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Take care.
But I was told something really, really, really important. The entire Cold War, we were working with the Soviet Union. We were together with them. And it was the one thing that kept the Cold War from going hot, was our relationship together on this issue. We weren't dumb and just went and lit up a nuke when we were in a standoff with Russia, the Cuban Missile Crisis, where everyone's like, oh my God, we're all going to die. And we said, well, then we might as well do a nuke test. It's like, no, it didn't work that way. They knew we did the nuke test. They were probably in the room with us when we did that test. because there was a small group of people on both sides that were trying to do exactly what they did, which was fly swat some bugs out of the sky.